Welcome back to the VC Angel Masterclass, where we turn complex investment concepts into easy-to-understand knowledge. In today's session, we're going to delve into the intriguing world of financial analysis and valuation of startups. We'll demystify the numbers, the terms, and the techniques that are pivotal in determining a startup's worth. So, fasten your seatbelts as we embark on this exciting journey of financial exploration. Are you ready to dive into the numbers game that fascinates investors worldwide? Every investment story begins with understanding a startup's financial health. So, let's talk about some key financial terms: revenue, profit, cash flow, and burn rate. Revenue is the total amount of money a startup makes from its business activities, often from sales of its products or services. However, revenue is just the beginning of the story. Profit, or net income, is the money left over after all expenses are deducted from the revenue. A profitable startup isn't necessarily a healthy one, though. That's where cash flow comes in. Cash flow is the net amount of cash and cash equivalents being transferred into and out of a business. It's crucial because it shows whether a startup has enough cash to pay its expenses. Finally, we have the burn rate, which is the rate at which a startup is spending its capital while operating without positive cash flow. A high burn rate could indicate that a startup is investing heavily in growth, or it could be a warning sign of financial trouble ahead. These terms aren't merely numbers on a page, they're indicators of a startup's financial health and can help us predict its future success or failure. Understanding these metrics is like having a financial stethoscope. It allows us to listen closely to the heartbeat of a startup and make informed decisions. Why are these terms more than just numbers, and how can they indicate a startup's future success or failure? Valuing a startup is both an art and a science. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty of various valuation techniques that investors employ to make informed decisions. First up, the cost-to-duplicate approach. This method is quite straightforward. It asks a simple question: how much would it cost to replicate the startup's product or service from scratch? This approach takes into account physical assets and the cost of development. However, it overlooks intangible assets like brand value and growth potential. Despite this, it offers a solid baseline valuation. Next, let's explore the Berkus method. This technique shifts focus from tangible assets to qualitative aspects. It's named after Dave Berkus, a renowned angel investor, and it's particularly useful for pre-revenue startups. The Berkus method assesses 5 key elements: sound idea, prototype, quality management team, strategic relationships, and product rollout or sales. Each element can add up to $500,000 to a startup's value. While this method is subjective, it highlights the importance of non-financial factors in valuation. Lastly, we'll look at the risk factor summation method. This is a more nuanced approach that considers various risk factors a startup might face. These could be management risks, stage of the business risks, legislation or political risks, manufacturing risks, sales and marketing risks, funding or capital raising risks, competition risks, technology risks, litigation risks, and international risks. Each risk is assessed on a scale from -4 to +2, and the total is added to the industry average pre-money valuation of a pre-revenue company. This method is complex, yet it provides a comprehensive assessment of a startup's risk and potential return. Remember, no single method offers a perfect valuation. Each has its strengths and limitations. The key is to use a combination of these techniques and adapt them to each unique startup. A successful investor knows how to read between the numbers and understand the story they tell. Theory is great, but practice makes perfect. Let's transition from the classroom to the boardroom and see how these valuation methods play out in the real world. Consider the story of a popular ride-hailing app. How did they justify their billion-dollar valuation? A key driving factor was the company's market potential. They tapped into a universal need for convenient transportation and scaled rapidly across the globe. The Berkus method, with its focus on qualitative aspects, could help us understand this valuation. Now let's look at a social media giant. With a user base in the billions, their revenue comes primarily from advertising. In this case, we could use the cost-to-duplicate approach, calculating the cost of creating a similar platform from scratch. However, we must also consider the immense value of the user base and the brand, which are not easy to duplicate. Next, think about a biotech startup developing a potentially game-changing drug. The journey from lab to market is fraught with risks. The risk factor summation method, considering these various risk factors, would be a suitable approach to value such a startup. Lastly, let's think about a tech startup that's still in its early stages, with no product to market yet, but promising technology. Here, the value lies in the potential of the technology and the team behind it. Again, the Berkus method would come in handy, focusing on these qualitative aspects. As we can see, the choice of valuation method depends on the unique aspects of each startup. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. Each investment decision requires a deep understanding of the startup's business model, market potential, and risk factors. We'll dissect a couple of case studies to highlight how different valuation methods are applied in real investment decisions. That's a wrap for today's masterclass on financial analysis and startup valuation. We've journeyed through the basics of financial analysis, ventured into the nuances of valuation techniques, and applied these concepts through real-world case studies. Remember, the crux of startup valuation is not just about the numbers, it's about deciphering the story these numbers narrate, the potential, the risks, and the opportunities. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights into the world of VC and angel investing. Join us in the next session where we'll delve even deeper into the fascinating world of venture capital.